Hey guys, so in this video I'm going to look at some of the really funny questions people have asked me while I've been on the road, and yeah, it is just for a bit of fun. Okay, so I'm parked up here at Mangakino, which is really gorgeous, and I've also been at Whakamaru recently and up in the Karapiro, so I've sort of done a big circle really. But I don't have anywhere I absolutely have to be at the moment, so I'm quite happy just to be in beautiful spaces and work from where I am. So I wanted to make the topic for this video the funny questions I've been asked since I was on the road. So I wrote some down last night as I thought of them. And yeah, this isn't to take the mickey out of people. I mean, for us who've lived on the road for a long time, a lot of these things are just as ordinary as living in a house as for house people. So yeah, but these are quite funny questions. I mean, one of the funniest, number one, is do you drive that all by yourself? Which has always kind of raised a big question mark in my mind, because you can't really drive with more than one person. And I have to admit, one day somebody asked that and I was a bit fed up with it, and I said no, I have a monkey who does the gear changes for me, because I was just kind of over that question, because yeah, driving is a one-person job as far as I'm concerned. So yeah, that one was one that had always puzzled me. I mean, do you drive that? Fair call, but do you drive that all by yourself? Okay, number two was a funny one, and that was at a fair, and I used to have my deck down with all my crystals and things on it in those days, and a massive great big awning off the back. And somebody came up to me and said, doesn't all that fall off when you drive? And I was really a bit stumped, because I thought, well, yeah, no, it would make a big mess if I just actually jumped in the cab and drove off with everything on there. But obviously the person kind of wasn't familiar with it, so yeah, maybe to them it was a fair enough question. Number three, because of the age of my dear truck, I've had a few people come up to me and say, is that COF, is that certificate of fitness real, or is it a fake one? To get a certificate of fitness for a heavy vehicle, you have to go to testing stations, so getting a fake one would be pretty hard, because it all gets logged into the general computer, and you actually can't buy registration without a legit warrant of or certificate of fitness. So to me that one was a little bit odd. It was like, where do you think I got it from? That one annoyed me a bit, and I've had it a few times, because, well, it's kind of assuming things. Any vehicle, no matter what age, if you look after it, has a pretty good chance of passing a certificate of fitness. And if you have to do some repair, then you have to do some repair. Number four was when I was with the fairs. I've been with 3 different fairs over the years: the Tinkers and Traders, the Gypsy Travellers Fair, and the original Gypsy Fair. But so often people would say, do you all drive in convoy? And I'm sort of thinking about 20 odd big heavy vehicles all driving down the road together. That could create some problems. So that one I explain, because I say no, that wouldn't be practical if we all drove in a big line, because other drivers would get really fed up with us, especially on hills. They wouldn't be able to get past, and it just wouldn't be a practical thing to do. Number five is a sort of a really strange random one, which was, how do you eat? How do you eat? Well, I eat food, and I have a stove and a fridge, and yeah, all of those things. So pots, pans, blender, yeah. So yeah, I eat like every other person. I go grocery shopping once a week and cook food. But yeah, I thought that was quite interesting. How do you eat? And one of the bizarre ones about animals was, and that only happened once, but I've remembered it because I thought it was really unusual, and that was at a fair, and there were several of us there with cats, And somebody asked me, do you get a new cat in each town? It'd be pretty mean, wouldn't it, if we just drove off the venue and left all our cats there and got new ones? That'd be pretty irresponsible. So I said to her, no, actually my cat's been travelling with me for years. But yeah, I thought that was a pretty interesting one. So those are just some funny questions, and really they are geared as to how much the person's been exposed to this lifestyle. If they've had a bit to do with it or have friends who do it, they generally have a better idea. But if they've never even thought about it, yes, you are going to end up with some random questions. And generally I try to answer them in a sensible way, apart from the monkey helping me drive incident. And honestly, the most intelligent interview I ever did with anybody was years ago at Palmerston North, with a young schoolgirl who might have been 12 or 13, who was doing a project on alternative lifestyles, and she came to interview me, and her questions were amazingly well thought out. You know, she'd really done some research and sat down and thought about them. She asked intelligent things like, where do you fill your water tank, and what do you do with your toilet, and how do you park at a supermarket? And you know, they were really, really smart questions, and she was 12 or 13, but she'd put some thought into what that might be like. So I hope she did really, really well on her project. She deserved to, because she really got into it. But yeah, please comment below with funny questions you've been asked too. And once again, this is a disclaimer, this isn't to ridicule those people. This is just because those sort of questions either stump you or raise a bit of a chuckle where you go, okay. Because when you live this life and it's day-to-day reality that you need to dump, that you need to go get water, that you need to find a laundromat, and parking at supermarkets is a little bit tricky, that just becomes what you do. It's no different to somebody in a house just living and doing what they do. I've been doing this for 18 years. And to me, it's just how I live. I find houses actually kind of peculiar. The most interesting thing to me in a house is having a really long shower and a washing machine. Because I don't do that in a truck. But yeah, it's interesting the questions we get asked at times. There seem to have been some misconceptions, especially about people who travel in my kind of vehicle. I've actually been chased down the road in Reefton. I had a broken windscreen, and this guy on this push bike chased me for miles, and I had to pull over to knock all the glass out of my windscreen. It was one of the old ones that, you know, shatter. And he hung around and I was ringing the insurance company, and finally he came out with it. He wanted to buy drugs, and I was like, look, I'm sorry, I can't help you with that. I can't even point you in a direction, or don't know how you're going to do that. I'm very sorry, but you've just wasted a lot of time chasing me and making an assumption on the vehicle I drive, you know. So that one was quite funny, and he looked really quite exhausted. Got a wasp there. Quite exhausted by the time he finished that. And another assumption that seems to luckily be wearing down a bit now, I've noticed, is the one that all women, especially gypsy fair type of women, that we're all a bit sort of kind of loose and have a different man in every town. That's been suggested to me a couple of times, and I think, oh my God, I haven't got the energy, the time for that. No, I actually don't want that much complication in my life at all. Never have done. It just doesn't interest me. But that was another funny idea, you know, that somehow ended up out there at some point. And I have also been asked once, do you gypsy ladies wear underwear? And yeah, there was a rumour out there that we don't. Some do, some don't, just like people who don't live in motorhomes. Personally, I do. But the only answer I could give her is like, well, I don't know. I haven't checked it out. I do, but whether other people do or not, who knows. So it really is quite amusing, the things you come across and the sort of assumptions that people make and things like that. So I like to keep a good sense of humour about it and have some fun with it. And yeah, try not to take it all too seriously. Believe that, no, you just can't.
believe that. Ooh, you just wanna be happy, wild and young and free.